Good evening, everybody. It is Here's to my health challenge day 25. Boy, these months go fast. At least they have been for me. It's funny when some days seem like they go really long, and then when I look back, the whole thing just flies by. So tonight, I wanted to talk about self-care because many of you would have received an invitation today to a Facebook Live launch party or in-person party in Medical Lake. If anybody lives close to Medical Lake, they can sure come in person. The launch party is really around skincare, and I started this whole journey with the book that I wrote around work-life balance and kind of finding myself again. And that's what I've noticed a lot of women my age, maybe even younger, in their 40s, notice that there is a lot on their plates, especially now with more of us working when we're, instead of staying at home or even trying to run a household. We get kind of lost for several years in the day-to-day grind of taking care of everything. And I find a lot of women that I've been talking to lately, when we get to be a certain age and we can sort of come out from the fog of everything that we've had to do, the kids are grown, we maybe are in a different transition in our lives where we start to reflect on what we've done and maybe also realize that we want things to be different moving forward for the last however many years we have, left on Earth. The projected lifespan now of women our age is somewhere in the 90s, so 95 or so, which would mean I have another 40 or so years on this earth if all goes well. So what do you do with all that time? I started to take a look at second careers and the idea that you could kind of reinvent yourself into another type of role. No longer the full-time mom, no longer the full-time wife, but really start to take a look at what we can do for ourselves finally. So when I wrote the book, I talk a lot about what do you do to clear your head and relax and calm down. And yesterday we talked about grounding. But another part of that is mindfulness, which we have covered on some of these talks. Just really pointing out, a way to get yourself focused on the here and now, focused on this minute, this hour, and not things that you've done in the past or things that you're worried about happening in the future. So there are some of those techniques I covered in the book. But the other thing that is pretty important is self-care. And we tend to always think of ourselves last, especially if you've practiced being a caregiver for most of your life. We tend to be on the back burner. And so self-care for me often looked like spending money, getting my hair done, getting my nails done, getting a pedicure, getting a massage. So any of those things that I felt pampered for a minute, and they often would make me feel better for a brief period of time, and then I would be back to the craziness. And so when I start talking about self-care now, I really am talking about a practice, something that you do routinely to take care of yourself, your health. Part of health, in my mind, is sort of how you manage what you eat, how much water you drink, but also how you take care of your body. And that includes exercise, but also skincare. And I have not taken care of my skin very well. I was one of those my husband calls me a glass of milk skin, that I was one of those very fair-haired, light-skinned girls who wanted to get a tan and wanted it to happen in a day. So I burned my skin a lot. I ended up with a lot of freckles, a lot of wrinkles, a lot of age spots, and not to mention the fact that I had a pretty bad bike crash a few years ago, and I landed on my face. And so I had a whole bunch of stitches in my face, in my mouth, and I looked pretty awful for a while. So Skin was something that I, didn't even want to look at. I didn't like looking in the mirror. I didn't want to see all the results of the things that I had done to myself and how old I looked. And so not long ago, I started really taking care of my skin and using a skincare line that has been pretty dramatic. I've had some huge results already, and I haven't even really been on it long enough to notice most of the results that I'll get. So I have been loving my skin again, and I feel pretty grateful that I came in contact with a regimen that I could handle and that I believed in. So lots of you received an invitation, and that's really what it's about. Is I want other women to feel beautiful, to take care of their skin. It's such a huge part of our presence and how we present ourselves. A huge part of our confidence. And so I will plan on the next few weeks giving you some tips on taking better care of your skin. If you don't, I often realize that sometimes I'm the last one to the party, and that a lot of women around me have already been doing this, going to dermatologists, going to, taking care of their skin, and I'm, sort of the last to know. Or last to grab it. So that could very well be the case, but if for those of you who are interested, please join us, and we'll have some fun drawings and and a good time, and those that will be in person will have some little bit of wine and cheese to enjoy the afternoon with as well. So that's it. That's a piece of self-care. I'll add another topic tomorrow. We've talked about grounding. We've talked about mindfulness. We've talked about what we've been eating lately. We've talked about skincare and a little bit on exercise. So all those things that roll all together to make us feel better. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great evening, and I will be back on day 26 with a new tip. All right, everybody.